384. That is the number of people the U.S. government is reportedly planning to strip of their citizenship. And if you are a naturalized citizen right now, I completely understand why that number stopped you in your tracks. But before you panic, before you make any decisions out of fear, I need you to watch this video in full. Because what the headlines are saying and what is actually happening in a federal courtroom are two very different things. And the difference between those two realities could save you from making a costly mistake. Intro. Welcome back to Global Entry News, the channel where we cut through the noise and give you accurate, grounded information about U.S. immigration law. If this is your first time here, I am glad you found us. Please take a moment right now to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because we cover breaking immigration news as it happens, and you do not want to miss an update when things move fast. And right now, things are moving fast. I am an immigration attorney who has spent years helping foreign nationals navigate the U.S. legal system, and before I started my own law firm, I worked at the Department of Justice, where I personally handled denaturalization cases on behalf of the government. So when this story broke and hundreds of you started reaching out asking what this means for you, I knew I had to record this video immediately because you deserve facts, not fear. And that is exactly what I am going to give you today. So let us talk about what was actually announced. The government has stated that 384 denaturalization cases are going to be initiated by the Department of Justice. That is the headline. That is the number that is spreading across social media, news channels, and immigration forums right now. And I am not going to minimize that. It is a significant number. It sounds alarming. And if you are a naturalized citizen, your first instinct is to ask, am I on that list? Could this happen to me? I want to answer that question honestly and completely. But to do that, we first need to understand how denaturalization actually works. Because the government does not just decide overnight to strip someone of citizenship and make it happen. The process is far more complex than that. And the complexity itself is actually important context for what this announcement really means. Denaturalization in the United States is not an administrative action. It is not something a government agency can do on its own. The only way someone can be denaturalized is through a federal court order. That means the Department of Justice has to prepare a full legal complaint, file it in federal court, serve the individual, go through the entire litigation process, and then a federal judge has to review the evidence and issue a ruling. This is not a fast process. It is not a simple process. And it requires enormous resources at every stage, from the referring agency to the DOJ attorneys who prepare the case to the federal court system itself. Now here is the piece of context that I think changes everything about how you should read this news. For years and years, the historic average for denaturalization cases filed by the Department of Justice has been somewhere between 12 and 16 cases per year, not 384, not even close to 384, 12 to 16, and that number reflects the real capacity of the system, given the investigative work, the legal preparation, the court scheduling, and the resources involved. So when you see a headline that says 384 cases, I want you to do the math with me. At the historic rate of roughly 14 cases per year, it would take approximately 27 years to reach 384 cases. Nearly 3 decades. And that assumes every single case moves forward without delay, without appeal, and without any competing priorities for the DOJ, which is already handling an enormous volume of litigation right now, including habeas corpus cases, immigration detention challenges, and a long list of other legal matters that require significant attorney time and court resources. And here is the data point that I think is the most important one in this entire conversation. In 2025, the Trump administration filed 13 denaturalization cases. 13. That is right on pace with the historic average. Not a dramatic surge, not an unprecedented expansion, but 13 cases, of which 8 were fully processed by the courts and resulted in individuals being denaturalized. So the gap between 13 actual filings and 384 announced targets is not a small gap. It is a gap of decades at current capacity. Now, I want to be very clear about something, because I know how these videos can sometimes be misread. I am not telling you denaturalization is not a real thing. It is absolutely real. I handled these cases. I know the law. I know how seriously the government takes them when they pursue them. And I am not telling you that the people who were denaturalized in 2025 did not go through a genuinely difficult and life-altering experience. They did. What I'm telling you is that the government announcing an intention to file 384 cases is very different from the government having the actual capacity and resources to file 384 cases in any near-term time frame. To move from the current pace to something approaching that number would require a massive increase in DOJ budget allocations, a major reallocation of attorney staff away from other priorities, a significant expansion of federal court docket space, and a pipeline of referrals from agencies that simply does not exist at that scale today. And there are no credible reports of any of those resources being put in place right now. I also want to address something I see a lot in the comment sections on my videos and across immigration forums online. There is an enormous amount of fear-based content circulating right now telling naturalized citizens that things like minor traffic violations, missed tax filings, or old paperwork errors from their naturalization process are going to get them denaturalized. And I want to be direct with you about this. That is not how the law works. Denaturalization is reserved for very specific, very serious situations, most commonly involving fraud or misrepresentation in the original naturalization application, or in certain cases, connections to terrorist organizations or serious criminal conduct. A missed tax return does not get you denaturalized. A speeding ticket does not get you denaturalized. And if anyone online or in an ad is telling you otherwise, they are either misinformed or they are trying to profit from your fear. Please be careful about who you are taking your legal information from. The reason I record these videos and the reason I have recorded dozens of videos on this topic over the past year is precisely because there is so much noise out there and so many people are anxious and looking for answers. I have had hundreds of you reach out personally about this latest news, and my job, the reason this channel exists, is to give you the most accurate, the most grounded, and the most honest information I can. Not to make you more afraid, not to sell you something, but to help you understand what is actually happening and what it actually means for your life. So here is where things stand today. The government has announced 384 denaturalization cases as a target. The current DOJ capacity based on historic averages and actual 2025 filing data puts that number decades away from reality without a massive and unprecedented increase in resources. And as of right now, there are no reports of those resources being allocated. That could change. And if it does, I promise you I will be the first person on this channel to record a video telling you exactly what has changed, what it means, and what you should do about it. That is my commitment to this community. For now, the most important thing you can do is stay informed, rely on accurate sources, and if you have a specific concern about your own naturalization status or your immigration history, please speak with a qualified immigration attorney who can review your individual situation. Every case is different, and general information, even from someone like me, is never a substitute for personalized legal advice. If this video gave you clarity today, please give it a like. It helps more people who need this information find it. And if you are not yet subscribed to Global Entry News, subscribe right now and turn on your notifications so you never miss an update when something important breaks. Drop your questions in the comments below, and I do read them. That is how I decide what to cover next, and that is exactly how today's video came to be. Thank you so much for being here. Stay informed, stay grounded, and I will see you in the next one.